So let's bring her on out, Miss Isabelle Fuhrman! Yep. Whichever one you want to use. Well, I guess that means
It's this mic. Hello, hi.
So what you guys think?
Right off the bat.
So for those of you that don't know, Isabelle Fuhrman, her character in Orphan, you know what? I could explain to you what her character in Orphan is. And if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, but spoiler alert, we kind of have to explain to you what her character is because it's so wacky. It is such a complete, you just don't even understand how much I want to talk to her about this character, because how old were you when you were cast in Orphan?
I was 10 years old when we did the first Orphan movie, and turned 11 while we were filming.
So why don't you explain to people about what makes your character when you were 10 years old so freaking messed up?
Not to spoil the entire secret of the movie.
Well, if they're at Spookala, they better freaking have already seen
You
it.
better know. Esther was a 32-year-old woman pretending to be a child in order to be adopted by a family and hopefully meet the greatest love of her life, her adopted dad.
So
a lot of really messed up things in there.
So let's think about, every one of you guys in this room, think about when you were 10 years old. If somebody came to you and said, we have a role for you. You're gonna play an adult trapped in a child's body that is from a foreign country that doesn't speak English as a first language, and you're gonna be a psychopathic, sadistic killer going after someone who looks like your adopted father, someone's adopted father. Could you have handled that? Man, no, I absolutely disagree with you, sir.
I was just honestly trying to survive the third grade at the same time, which is crazy to think about when I look back, but I was doing, we would go on set and we would film parts of the movie and then I would be doing school the entire rest of the day.
So how much of the movie did you really understand? Even though you were filming, did you really have a mental understanding of how demented Esther really was? Or was it just kind of like, go film this, then go to your class, no big deal?
I think part of the reason I was probably cast was because I remember reading the script and feeling like I understood Esther. I was like, oh, she just wants somebody to love her, which is at the core really why she does all of these demented things. So I think that the innocence that I brought to it, in a sense, helped me dive into her, which is why she's such an iconic character, in my opinion, is that she's not just like a crazy person trying to do all of these things. She really, at the core of it, wants to find love and wants to feel accepted and wants to be loved by her family. And so there was something about that that I understood as a 10-year-old. And then as far as like some of the more graphic adult themes in the movie, I was very lucky that my parents were with me when I was filming and they were explained to me in like the most PG way. I was even saying today to someone who came and visited me at the booth that I didn't understand when I was a kid saying, I'll cut your hairless little prick off before you even figure out what it's for. I didn't understand what that meant at 10 years old, but now when I watch it, I'm like, that's pretty iconic. It's a pretty good line.
So when you found out what that line actually meant, was there any part of you that was horrified that's what it was?
No,
that's awesome.
Yes. I was like, that's pretty badass. I mean, it's you know, it's a great line. You know, what is it for?
So on the Spookala stage across the years, we've had people that have been in some darker movies or have played some darker roles. The first part of this question is, did they do anything on set between takes to try and lighten the mood? Like, okay, you just got done stabbing this person 7 times, let's sing a karaoke song. Now go back and sing a video. Did they do anything to try to keep the mood light for you, or did they just have it be as dark as possible?
I think when you make horror films in general, it's actually very light on set because there's so much make-believe, which is what's so fun about making films, and that's what I love about making horror movies. You have fake blood and fake guts, and like, you know, there's like a fake replica of your arm that somebody made, and all of this stuff is just so cool to look at, and that's why everybody is here. And you get to do that every single day on set. And I think there's something fun about being able to like come to work and like cry and scream your head off. That is enjoyable when you watch a movie like that. It makes your heart race, and I think that that's something that I love about being on set of those films. So most horror films I feel like are very light in between the takes, to be completely honest. I'm yet to work on one where I feel like the energy on set is very dark simultaneously. I feel like there's nothing you can really do when you're covered from head to toe in fake blood that tastes like sugar corn syrup, other than just laugh.
So the second part of the question is, again, there's been some that have come up onto the stage. James Jude Courtney is one of the ones that comes to mind that says he would never put on the Michael Myers mask outside of the set because he has to put himself in a very dark place to wear the mask, and he doesn't want to disrespect that spot. So my question for you is, there's been others that have been like, they have a difficult time in getting out of that dark mindset. Did you ever have an issue with getting out of the psychopathic serial killer that is a adult trapped in a 10-year-old's body and all that? Or were you just like, dude, it is what it is, it's just Thursday?
Oh no, I was Esther for Halloween like 2 years ago. It's on my Instagram, you can watch it. And it was so funny because it was totally last minute. I didn't know what I was gonna do for Halloween. I dressed up like Esther and took a picture for my Instagram. And then my friends were like, we're gonna go to this party. Do you wanna dress up as something else? I was like, I didn't bring any other costume. So I was like, why not? I'll just stay in the outfit. And I have like the original ribbons. I have the dress from the set. Like everything was authentic. And the whole night, nobody recognized me. I had so many people come up to me and be like, your costume is amazing. You look so much like her. And I was just like, you know what? Unless somebody actually asks, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, great, sure. I had so many people take pictures with me, but nobody had any idea. And I don't know if it was just because like, I'm a grown-up now, but I was fully like dressed up and everything, and the whole night nobody was like, are you actually Esther from the movie? So I don't have a hard time playing around with her. I think part of what we love about like Mike Myers or characters like Esther or iconic horror film characters is like, you want to dress up like them. It's fun. It's fun to put yourself in their shoes and play around, and like, who doesn't love dress up, you know?
So let's move on to the sequel that's a prequel to Esther, to Orphan. So we just told you guys, put yourself in a 10-year-old's mentality, 10-year-old you. So now, let's be Isabelle Fuhrman. And let's be
at 23.
Yeah. So now you're going forward 14 years, and the movie plan is we're going to do a prequel where grown woman is now going to play an even younger version of Esther. How did you get your mindset ready for that? Did you think, I know that you worked in the back on the production side of it, did you think that this was going to work? Did you think that there was going to be a way to make this be believable with you being an adult playing the youngest version of Esther in a movie?
I mean, I honestly didn't. The whole story of Natalia Grace came out on Dr. Phil in like 2019. And I remember sitting down with our writer and executive producer and being like, I know you guys had a script for the second Orphan and we didn't end up making the movie, but I think you guys should take the script out. I think right now people are so enthralled by this real life story. There's something that's connecting Orphan to all of this, and we should try and make the movie again. Because I knew how much the fans loved the character. And we went to different studios and the movie started getting put together. And then really there were like a lot of conversations of whether or not they were gonna be able to make that work for me to come back and reprise the role. And it seemed like at first there was no way it was possible, and then it was like there was no way that it was not gonna happen, because there was no way that we could make this movie what it needed to be unless I came back for it. So wrapping my head around it was more, as a kid, I was so concerned trying to feel like I was imbuing parts of the story with her being an adult, and the reverse was trying to remind myself to be childlike all the time, so that way it was believable. And we had an amazing makeup team, we had an amazing costume designer, all of the other actors like Julia Stiles and Ross of Sutherland were wearing these like sparkly platform stripper boots that were super high, and I had like a chair that I would use that would allow me to like kind of squat almost and walk, and we filmed everything like they did The Hobbit, so it was all forced perspective. So like I'm sitting at a dinner table and my fork is like this big in comparison to everyone's normal size fork and food, and it really was cool. When I saw the movie for the first time, I was really nervous. I wasn't sure if we did it, and I remember being really freaked out. So I was like, oh, I actually do kind of look like a 10-year-old. And I think because we're all in on the secret after the first movie, you could kind of laugh at the fact that it's like that meme that's going around, still trying to order from the kids buffet, and it's like my face. It's like, yeah, as long as I can keep doing it, why not?
So how many people in here have seen Orphan First Kill? So, okay. Did they not do a great job in that movie where you feel like, they're like, this might just be the same exact movie again, and then they're like, ha! We got you, because the swerve that you take,
the twist
in that movie was so good that you're like, oh, that was really good. You did not see that twist coming with the family.
Didn't either.
That twist was really good. That twist was really good.
And I think Julia didn't either. You know, when I read the script, I was like, oh, it's the same movie. And then I got to that page and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Wait, what?
So if you haven't seen the movie, do yourself a favor. First, you got to go watch the first Orphan and go, what the hell? And then you got to watch Orphan First Kill and see just how cool that twist is, how they could make a movie where you already knew what was going to happen. You knew the outcome at the end, but the way they get to it was so unexpected, was really, really cool.
Yeah, Julia and I had such a good time like playing around with that, and she's such an icon of like romance and like all the movies I watched in my childhood, so I was just so happy to see her in this kind of like dark and twisted role too. She was great.
Okay, so you guys know how this works. We could continue having this conversation like this for the rest of the panel, but we want to know what you guys want to know. So if you have any questions, we have an open mic up here. Get yourself up, come up to this mic. You can ask your question about whatever you want to ask.
Don't be shy.
And we'll go from there. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
We tell these celebs, Spookala, Tampa has got the greatest audience. Here we go, look at this. They knew what was up.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing? What's your name?
My name's David.
David, all right, what is your question?
So I just saw Escape Room 2 days ago, but I saw the alternate version thinking it was the real version. And I found out when I finished watching it, because me and my friend were having a watch along in 2 different cities. And I was like, oh my God, the girl from Orphans. And then she's like, bitch, what do you mean? Like, I'm watching a different movie. And then, so my question is there a possibility if there's a third one, they'd go with that version? And would you do it?
I have no idea. You know, it was so funny because we filmed that in 2018, and I remember during COVID, they were like testing the film and they decided to change the ending. And my character was like a completely different ending and a completely different twist to the story. And so when you're acting in a movie, like it happens all the time, and the director, Adam, was like, but we're gonna put it on the DVD. And then what happened is people like you saw the alternate version and really loved it. And I think now, I don't know, if they called and asked me back, I would totally love to do it. I loved working on that series, and like, you know, the Escape Room franchise is super cool. I love escape rooms personally too, and like, it was such a fun experience. So if that's what the fans wanted, 100%, it would be great.
Thank you so much. And my favorite line was, you and Mom would be so proud of me. It gave me such Esther vibes.
Oh, thank you.
I guarantee there's going to be a good question here. What's going on, man? Tell her your name.
What's up, Matt? Nico, nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you.
I'm not sure if you're into horror movies per se, but you kind of brought up Julia Stiles. Are there any like women in horror that you looked up to, or any other just actresses like you grew up that you admired?
You know, I love old Betty Davis, like horror movies, like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Like those films really, to this day, I can watch over and over and over again, because it was a different kind of horror. It was like dark and twisted and also beautiful and seductive, and there was something really cool about that. And that was actually, I watched that when we did the first Orphan movie. Jama, our director, sent me that film, and he also sent me all about Eve, and he was like, I want you to watch these two films because this is like what I want the inspiration to be for Esther in this household. And I did rewatch them when we were working on the second one too, because you know they're horrific in a different way. They're psychologically like really messed up, which is what I loved so much about them too.
His newest movie, The Woman in the Yard, I think is pretty good too, so I would check that out. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I thought it was pretty good too.
Yeah.
I'll see you again this weekend.
See you.
Hey, how you doing
Hi.
there?
Hi, good. My name's Dan. I live in Miami, Florida.
Go Dolphins.
So yeah, before actually starring in a horror movie, did your parents used to let you watch horror films as a little girl as an inspiration?
I had actually never watched a horror film until I was cast in Orphan. It's so funny, I used to only watch animated movies when I was really little. For some reason, like live action movies were not something that I loved. And then my dad made me watch Wizard of Oz. And I remember that like completely changed my perspective on watching like real people in movies. And that's why I wanted to be an actress. And when I did Orphan, that was the first time I watched horror films. Jama, the director, sent me like a whole list of movies to watch before we started filming. And that was my first like dive into horror. And then as I've gotten older, I have definitely more of an appreciation for the genre. And there's some like horror movies you can watch over and over again, and there's some like I only watch once and I'll probably never watch them again.
What are some of your favorite franchises?
Some of my favorite franchises, I really liked the Escape Room franchise. I was really happy to be a part of it. I also really enjoy the, what's it called, the Halloween franchise, and Insidious as well. And I'm trying to think another one. I've seen Saw quite a few times, and like Hills Have Eyes and those movies too. Yeah. I mean, not a franchise, but I think my most messed up horror movie I ever watched was Midsummer. And one of my friends was in that movie and he got like filleted. And I was like, I'm never gonna watch this movie again. It's horrible to watch someone you know like look like that in a movie. Just separation is kind of hard.
I can appreciate that.
I can appreciate it, but I'm good.
Hey, thanks a lot,
you
man.
so
Appreciate
much.
the questions.
Thank you. My character Esther died. No, didn't die. She survived. And then they did like focus groups, which they do for every movie, and everyone told them to kill me because they didn't like Esther. They were like, kill her. So we went back and shot a different ending, which is actually on the DVD. Oh. And so the ending of the movie where I end up in the ice, that was super cool to film because we got to do like diving training, and they built this entire lake that was basically the size of this room on a soundstage. So if you can imagine like being 12 years old and like swimming in a fake lake with ice that's like actually warm, and like, you know, having like scuba training and seeing how long you can wait until you breathe underwater, and then also filming like an ending to a movie, it was a really fun experience.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
All right, next up.
Hi. You said you were filming a movie while in third grade. After the movie came out, did any of your classmates like make comments or jokes with you about it? Or in high school, did people get older and be like, hey, is that you?
I remember when the movie was coming out in LA, they were promoting it everywhere, and they actually put it, like the poster, on the Jumbotron during the Laker game. And one of my classmates came to school with a t-shirt and like a sticker with my face on it. And he was like, I saw you at the Laker game this weekend. I was like, I've never been to the Laker game. And he showed me all these pictures and I was just so shocked by it. And then people started making jokes, like, you know, you're in school, it's like people start making fun of like the fact that you're scary. So people would like run away from me in the hallway as a joke and be like, the scary girl, the scary girl. But then, you know, you just kind of, kids are mean. You keep going to school and you're like, it's fine. So it was funny when I was little and it was coming out. I don't think I realized how big of a film it was until like later, when I started walking around with my parents and people would come up to us on the street. Like, when you're 10 years old, you're like, who's this? Why is somebody coming over to me, a stranger? I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. I really love this movie called Amélie, that is like an old French film, not old, but with Audrey Tautou. It's like, it always makes me feel good and makes me laugh a lot. I'm I think other feel-good movies I really like. Sometimes I just like to watch those movies, you know, the ones that make you cry, like The Notebook. Sometimes it's good, like it's a great release to watch. You know, it's what I love about movies. You can watch a movie that makes you scared, you can watch a movie that just makes you cry your eyes out, you can watch a movie that makes you feel like you're falling in love. It's like, it's a beautiful part of movies is that you can like dive into a world for 2 hours and escape the reality that you live in, you know?
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a little sidestep here. So, another movie that you were in is one of my daughter's favorite franchises, and she is like an encyclopedia of the Hunger Games.
This is true.
And I was like, so Cameron, tell me about Clove. And she's like, oh, District 2, career lifer, and she tries to kill Katniss, and then she gets killed by this dude from District 11, and she just gave me the whole basic rundown.
She knew it all, like every
She knew it
detail.
all. So, originally, you had auditioned for Katniss. So, talk us through that. Talk us through, were you disappointed you were not able to get the role, and then how happy were you to be able to play any role in that movie?
I was like your daughter, like obsessed with the book series, like beyond obsessed. And I originally actually auditioned for Prim first, and then the movie took a while for it to get made. So by the time they were actually ready to go in casting, I was 15. And I was like, maybe I could be Katniss because I'm so close to being 16 and she's 16 in the book. And I went in to audition for it, and Gary, the director, like knew he wanted to cast Jennifer, like from the very, very beginning. There was like never any competition. Like it was always gonna be her, which is so funny. But so many people auditioned because everyone loved the series and so many people wanted to be a part of it. And I remember I wanted my audition to stand out, so I picked the epilogue from the end of Mockingjay to like say to the casting director at the end. And because I did that, she remembered that there's a scene where Clove kind of taunts Katniss and with this big, you know, the villain monologue that they all have. And so she thought of me for Clove, even though I was way too young, because the career tribute's supposed to be 17. I read the book, supposed to be 17, training her whole life, ready to go in the games. And they sent me an email and asked me to come in and audition for Clove, and they just cast me off of that audition. So it's just, I think it's just a big lesson of like when you really want to do something, sometimes going the extra mile or doing something that's like outside of what you're supposed to do really lets people see your passion and your love for something. And really that's the reason I think that they included me in the movie, was they could tell how much it meant to me to be a part of it. So, and then you get to hang out with like all of these amazing actors and great people, and you're throwing knives and running around the cornucopia, and you're like living out this book that you loved so much. It was a really surreal and very cool experience.
Well, I would think being 15 playing someone 17 was going to be a snap after you were 10 playing someone who was 32.
Oh, it was so easy. Yeah, it was super duper easy. And I didn't have to do an accent, and I didn't have to learn sign language.
And, well, I was going to say, you did have to try and kill people, so you already had that one down.
Yeah, I already had that down. I was like really prepared mentally for that. I think the knife throwing was a new skill, an acquired skill, which I'm really good at darts now. And I think it's because of that, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so you have a extensive career of movies and TV and stage. Is there any role that you've done that you're like, I really enjoyed that movie, but it's kind of, or that role, and it's kind of flown under the radar, and you want the Spookala crowd to leave this place today and go back and go watch whatever? It could be a romantic movie, it could be a fun movie. Is there a role that you had that you feel like kind of flew under the radar and didn't get the love that it truly deserved?
I'm super, super proud of a movie I did called The Novice, which is a movie about collegiate rowing and about grit and ambition, and how sometimes you just have this drive to be the best, and it doesn't have to come from somewhere outside of yourself. And it is a little dark and twisted, the movie too. And there is a little bit of body horror in it, so there's something in it for the horror crowd for sure. But it's a movie that I'm incredibly proud of. I had to learn how to row at a collegiate level, and I only had like probably 6 weeks to do it. I was really fortunate. I had great coaches and trainers, and like I had no stunt double the whole movie. I rowed the entire film. Like I gained 12 pounds of muscle. It was like a really intense film. We were nominated for 5 Independent Spirit Awards, so it's a really great film, and I highly recommend everybody see it. I'm a really big fan of it, and very proud of like our entire team, our director, our composer, everybody that was involved. It's a great film. I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
So earlier this year, you got to be in a straight up romance movie.
Oh yeah, directed by the one and only Julia Stiles.
So the movie we're talking about is Wish You Were Here.
Yes.
So walk through what this movie is, the sappy love story that does have a dark twist to it.
It does, yeah, no.
It has to have a dark twist to it.
Yeah, it's based off of a USA Today bestseller by the same name, Wish You Were Here, and Julia was actually reading it and writing the script while we were filming Orphan, First Kill. And she called me like a couple months after the movie came out, was like, I want to talk to you about a movie that I probably think that no one would ever think of you for, but because I got to know you and you're not as terrifying and scary as I thought you'd be. She's like, I'd love for you to do a movie like this and people to see you more as who you are. And the film is about a young woman named Charlotte who works at a Mexican restaurant and is trying to figure out like what she wants to do with her life. And her mom thinks that if she finds somebody to marry, maybe she'll be happy, but she wants to do something more. And she ends up meeting this guy who ghosts her after a one-night stand, and somehow they reconnect and fall in love. And it's a really beautiful story. It's very moving. It's about how you don't really know if you have tomorrow and how long your life is going to be, so you got to take chances and you got to take big steps and big leaps of faith. And obviously Julia is like a romance movie icon, so for her to direct it was insanely cool. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of the movie. It's you can stream it and watch it on VOD now. It's available.
And if you look at your career, a lot of what you've done hasn't been in the horror realm. You've got a very wide variety of what you do.
Point where like she would go up to the other kids in our class and she'd go, Esther kills people. I love Esther. I love Annabelle. Annabelle's my best friend. Annabelle kills people. And the other kids would be like, that's really scary, actually. Please stop talking about them. So have you ever had like any really young fans where you've been like, whoa, I didn't know that you could be 3 and be like this into my work?
I don't know. I honestly, I haven't. I would love to meet. I would love to meet her. But I don't think I've ever met like a young horror fan. But I bet it's probably like, you know, kind of like when you're dressing up, it's like a fun way to dress up. It's like instead of a princess costume, it's way more badass, you know? She's probably like super cool. I'd love to meet her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that it's very clear to everybody that's here that this is a pretty well-rounded and grounded individual, correct? You guys agree with me on this?
Yeah.
So
Thank my mom and dad for that.
I was just gonna say, what do you think your secret is to be able to play roles that are as intense and demented and psychotic as you've had, or romantic roles, things you've done, and it feels like, and even seeing other interviews you've done, it doesn't matter what the role is, as soon as you're done with that, you're right back to the person that you are, the grounded person that you are. What do you think your secret is into being able to step into a role and then step back into who Isabelle Fuhrman truly is?
I think it's just having like a strong sense of self in your own routine. Like I have a very boring day-to-day routine, and it's pretty much the same every single day. And then when I'm working, like you kind of disappear into a role and you disappear into a job, and you're usually traveling for it. And I think at the end of the day, and I think what's great about something like this is I get to meet all of you and talk to you, and you realize like actors are just people. Like we're just normal people, and this is just like what we do for work. And it's super cool to meet all of you and be able to talk to you about like what the movies meant to you and how much you love those characters. Because for us, when we work on them, we have the same passion and excitement when we read a script and we get to step into that role. But at the end of the day, like we're all just going home and getting in our pajamas, taking a bath, and going to sleep. So I think I'm also just really lucky. I have a great family that's always kept me grounded. I've stayed in school. I didn't do homeschooling. I tried to kind of curate balance in my life, which was something that's always been important to me, and I think always will be. And yeah, I mean, I like to go on long walks on the beach, and you know, do normal shit.
So you have some productions that are upcoming. Is there anything that you're able to talk to the crowd about things you may have that are going to be coming up anytime soon?
I'm definitely diving more into the horror genre, which is really exciting. There are a lot of really amazing, because like horror fans are so fantastic, there's so many great horror movies that are being made right now. Like some of the best scripts I'm reading are all like horror psychological thriller films, and it's cool to see how people are bringing more artistic choices to those genres because they are so popular. And I think we're getting to play around so much more with, you know, the artsy kind of like A24 horror movies, and then you have like the more commercial, bigger stage ones, and you get to really, I don't know, kind of best of both worlds. And I think for the first time, Hollywood is getting more aware of the fact that horror movies are just as great movies as dramas or comedies or any of these other films that are nominated. And in fact, there's so many more artisans that work behind the scenes to create that like iconic character. When we were making Orphan, I remember it was like a constant conversation of like what the dresses looked like, what the ribbons looked like, what the hair looked like, and I think that there's not as much care being paid to some of those like more commercial movies. But it has always been a part of horror. Like creating an iconic character is like such a huge part of horror, and I'm just happy that it's finally being recognized as a genre that's worthy of like awards, because there's something about seeing a movie like that that's really messed up, and these people are like giving some of the craziest performances, and they're like, no, we're way above that. It's like, no, you're not, because they're better than some of the movies that we watch for like hours. Like, this is entertaining, I'm having a great time, and this person's like crying their eyes out, screaming, and like I feel really bad for them.
All right, so you all know what time it is. You might not, but you're gonna love this.
What time is it?
So it's the Spookala tradition. When this panel is done, we're gonna get on the other side of the table, and the show photographer is gonna take a picture with us, but we have to summon him first. His name is Corey. So on the count of 3, in your best Scooby-Doo voice, we have to summon Corey.
Scooby-Doo voice.
Yes. Well, not actual Scooby-Doo. It's not like
Corey.
just like you dastardly kid's voice. Okay. So on the count of 3, we have to summon Corey. 1, 2, 3. Corey. Oh, look at you guys! Look at it! It worked! It worked!
There he is! Oh my gosh!
All right, so everybody, so when this panel's done, run, don't walk, but make sure you do it as safe as possible. Back over to Isabelle's table. Is she awesome or what? Woo! Man, I think you guys can be a little bit louder. Is she awesome or what? Woo! All right, so without further ado, let's give one more big round of applause for the one, the only orphan herself, Esther Isabelle.